The Doghouse Cup Series is proudly sponsored by Shoney's. Shoney's is today's all-American kitchen, open daily for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Shoney's guests can count on quality, delicious food along with warm, friendly service. Stop by one of the West Virginia locations and try out their freshly prepared legendary breakfast bar. And don't forget to take home a whole strawberry pie. Shoney's, delicious food and friendly service since 1947. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Thursday night. Tonight, we give you the coverage of the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series for Season 2 of 2024. Tonight, the drivers get prepared for the third to last race of the season as they tackle one of the tougher courses, the ones that's going to be a blast to watch here this evening. It's Las Vegas. Under the lights, the desert sun drifting away. The lights are clicked on, and the driver speeds have also lifted to high numbers. We're excited to give you all the action here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up in the booth, as always, is Zach Hall. And Zach, coming off of last week, Bowie Esports dominating in the teamwork atmosphere. It was Brandon Bowie taking the victory, but tonight they get to test their skills at this 1 mile course in Las Vegas. I'm excited for it. How are you feeling for tonight's race?
I'm very excited for this one. Yeah, 3 races to go, Sam. It's coming down to the crunch time. We saw the big win from Bowie last week, and it took great, teamwork really between all the teammates there at Bowie Esports to set that up. But Brandon Bowie gained a significant amount of points, and we'll look at that later in the point situation. But that was a huge momentum boost, and I think with 3 races to go, the battle for the championship is still on. But Brandon's 6, and we've seen how good he's been at these style of racetracks. We'll see what he's able to do tonight.
Brandon 6 entering tonight with 4 wins. A majority of those 4 wins were earlier in the season. Of recent, it's been Brandon Bowie that's been looking like the stronger of the 2 teammates, and they are the last 2 looking to be the favorites in points-wise. Unless both of them get wrecked out here tonight, it's going to be between the 2 teammates of Bowie and 6 for these final 3 races to see who will be crowned the 2024 Season 2 champion. But we just finished up practice. We're about to be entering into qualifying, where drivers will have 5 minutes to put down their fastest lap. Only 2 laps to do so. You hit the wall, go off into the grass, your time will be invalidated. So it's time to see how these drivers have figured out their setups, as if you've never seen a Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series race before, these drivers run open setups, meaning that they get to decide how they want their setups to be performing tonight. They can make the adjustments before qualifying, during the race, before the race. This is going to be critical to see who can be set up perfectly to get up front quickly as drivers are hitting the track. Zach, what do you think the main critical things of focus are going to be for these drivers here for qualifying?
Well, I'll tell you what, first off, with it being nighttime here at Las Vegas, the speeds are going to be up. It's going to be really, really fast around here. So the setups, like you said, with it being open setup, are going to be so critical on how these drivers have, their downforce levels set up, really, how they really want these cars to get around here. And also, this track is very fast, but it's bumpy. So it's kind of, you got to make the setup able to go over those bumps and keep that same aero platform. So we'll see who's really nailed it here in qualifying. And when that green flag does drop, you're not going to see much separation, I think, from the field. But as the run goes on, you'll start to see the separation of which cars will perform better over that long run. So qualifying can be a telltale of who's got the speed, but I think once we get in the race, it'll be very, very interesting to see who's got that long run pace. But right now, Tyler Millette on top of the board, and not really surprised to see that too, Sam. He won that race at Kansas, so the other mile and a half in the schedule, he was the winner there.
Also a former pole sitter of this racetrack back in the 2022 Season 2 race. Grabbed the pole, led quite a few laps, actually led the most that race with 23 of the 74. Here we see the 8 machine. It's going to be Chris Leftwich across the line, hoping the best the time of the 20 of the. It going to be seen if Chris Leftwich can beat out that of Tyler Millette. Does do so, and no surprise, Chris Leftwich, fastest during practice. He found the inking speed here for qualifying. But now, cross your fingers, hope for the best. It's now some of the best and fastest drivers of the night to watch out for that are about to be hitting the course. Brandon Six awaiting in the wings. We also wait for Jamie Horn, for Brandon Bowie, for Andrew St. Cour. We've got some fast drivers known for putting up qualifying pace that are about to be taking off here shortly.
Definitely some fast drivers that are going to be putting some laps down, and this is one of them. Great to see him back out here on the circuit tonight, the 12 machine of Andrew St. Cour. So we'll see what kind of speeds he can produce. He was second fastest there in the practice session, so we always know one to to always qualify well and race very well is this 12 machine. So we'll see high expectations for him for sure. But as I've said, that Adam Thompson has took the top spot, so the 71 doing a great job there, and some pickup from practice from him.
Great pickup for the 71 team. A little bit under 4/100ths of a second faster than the 8 of Chris Leftwich. But here we go for Andrew St. Cour, who's going to be the driver who grabbed the pole, won this race back in 2023 season 2. Also found himself leading the most laps, 97 of 120. This will be the 9th time that the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series has ran at this course throughout its illustrious time, all the way back in 2021 summer time. And these drivers know this track has a tendency of a low caution count, so you'll want to start up front, have any advantage possible, because this race could stay green all the way to the end. Adam Thompson still with the fastest time, a 29.183 second lap, but it's going to be Andrew St. Cour, going to be one of the last drivers for a qualifying attempt, as well as Jamie Horn, who Horn's waiting for the very last moment. First lap going to be 13th fastest. Andrew St. Cour was 16th fastest, but across the line for the 12 machine, hoping for the twisted axle to be on top. And across the line, we look at the ticker board, and it is pole time by 6/1000ths of a second. It's Andrew St. Cour with the pole time, but we still wait for other drivers. We've got Eric Warman. He was 17th fastest on his first lap, trying to look for a massive pickup here, not going to find it. Jamie Horn was hoping for a big pickup, not close enough. It will be 8th fastest, and that will be qualifying. It's Andrew St. Cour in the 12 twisted axle machine, back on top.
Great job by Andrew there to come back out and really take a strong hold there with that lap, and that's going to set him up well to be just out in front, trying to control this race and win himself another victory here at Las Vegas. And we'll see how this all works out, as Warman, of course, are still putting some laps in. This is always a good time to get some practice, Sam. So using these final few seconds is always a valuable thing. And one thing I've also noted, Brandon Six, Brandon Bowie, our 2 championship contenders, elected not to qualify, so they're going to be starting at the tail of this field. It's going to be fun to watch their battle.
See how well they can climb through the field. We've seen this for Brandon Bowie almost all season, deciding to start in the back, but he always finds a way to get up front. Now it's going to be Brandon Six's turn to join along his teammate on the climb through traffic. As now we enter into our warm-up period, where the drivers will have 5 minutes to get any last-minute adjustments, practice time in, figure out where their pit stalls are going to be for the race, and as well gives us a time to have a clearer picture of how the season has been ran so far. Starting off, we'll take a look at how the point standings have been. Now these points looks like massive gaps in total, but these drivers in the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series, they use the older NASCAR Cup Series point system, the old Winston Cup system. Big points given out. You can almost gain over 100 points if you finish in first, and compared to someone who finishes in last. So that's where we're seeing these big discrepancies between one another, but it's on top of the board. Brandon Six, Brandon Bowie, just 74 points between one another. This is the closest that the points have been since all the way back, I think, maybe race 4 of the season.
That's right. This is definitely the closest it's been. I mean, Brandon Six had such an enormous lead grow with that real hot streak that he had. I mean, he's been consistent since that period too, with 9 top 5s, 10 top 10s. I mean, same with Brandon Bowie, both of them showing why they're atop this board right now. But it's definitely been Brandon Bowie who's been slowly kind of, closing the margin between them. And if he can just start to keep, doing a little bit more each and every race, he's going to have an opportunity possibly. But if you're Brandon Six, tonight could be your opportunity to kind of close those doors even. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But even great battles from really third all the way back to eighth position. I mean, even ninth, because a lot of these guys are within almost 100 points.
Yeah, it's kind of the best of the rest competing against one another. The veterans in the series from that third on back window. The rookies have been dominating with Brandon Six and Brandon Bowie this season up front, part of that Bowie Esports team. But this has been incredible to watch. Jamie Horn, Warman, also the rookie Brian Dixon, and Justin McMahon. It has been fun to see all their different ways that they've raced throughout this season. And speaking about how this season, let's take a closer look at how the schedule has been so far. Well, like I said, Brandon Six got a lot of his wins early on in the season, but it has been a real change-up of drivers recently. With seeing the likes of Brandon Bowie winning back at Richmond and Kansas, got to see Tyler Millette grab his first career win in the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. Then you got to see Zach Millett with the absolute thriller at the Roval. And then last week, the teammate battle. Thought Dixon was going to sweep the super speedways. Not the case. It was Bowie last week at Talladega, but it's 3 races left in the season. Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Homestead before we crown a champion.
And that's 3 really good tracks, and 3 kind of really different tracks. Even though the size of Vegas and Homestead are very similar, they still differ a ton in how they race. So I think we'll see completely different races there. And then, of course, Phoenix, I think that could be a place that's kind of circled as like a wild card kind of deal, where if you get caught up in something there early, that could be a huge shift in the points. So I think that race will be one to definitely watch out for back when we come here January 9th. But definitely you want to close out this break before the Christmas and holiday break here, Sam, with a bang. So you can have some momentum heading into that break to maybe, work on something to have something really good for those final 2 races.
Yeah, kind of crazy. We're going to be gone for a whole month, as we will be back January 9th after tonight for Phoenix, and then Homestead the week after to conclude this 2024 season 2. But for us, before we continue on, we have some big thank yous to the sponsors that help the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series, and as well all the leagues that the Doghouse Cup Series and just the Doghouse leagues in general run. I want to say thank you to Shoney's. Shoney's is your all-American breakfast that you can go find in West Virginia. They've got plenty of different locations to stop by and find delicious food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Hey, and as well as once you're there, don't forget to take home a whole strawberry pie and all their other delicious items, as Shoney's, delicious food and friendly service since 1947. We also want to say thank you to True Patriot Apparel and Gifts. True Patriot Apparel and Gifts is known for having great items for sarcasm, humor, and giving out your own personality, as well as having great values that they are proud of. If you want to go check out the different products that they have over at the True Patriot Apparel and Gifts, head on over to www.truepatriotshopUSA.com. And when purchasing, remember to use the promo code Doghouse10. That's Doghouse, the number 10, at the end to get 10% off on your order. Thank you so much to True Patriot Apparel and Gifts for being a part of the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. Also, going to say thank you to some of the best in scheme in paints that you can find on iRacing. Want to go head over to SSR Designs. SSR Designs has ways to contact on Facebook, discuss your projects, and let them bring to life your ideas that you're thinking about. From classic designs to bold graphics, SSR Designs is here to make your vehicle truly one of a kind. Settle down and go look at some of their best schemes again on Facebook, SSR Designs. Also want to say thank you to Butt Kicker. Feel what you've been missing. If you know iRacing, you know Butt Kicker. Go check them out at buttkicker.com. And our final thank you to a sponsor is Nap Daddy Racing Designs. Head on over to their YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Nap Daddy Racing Designs, or head to their webpage to go check out their designs that you can have today at www.napdaddyracing.com. Thank you again to all the amazing sponsors that help out the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. And for us, it's time to take a look at our starting grid here for race number 12 of the season. Las Vegas, going to be top of the board. It's a driver taking a couple of breaks throughout the season, but we're happy to see him back on top. It's Twisted Axle driver of the number 12 of Andrew St. Cour. Second place, we find the 71 of Adam Thompson. Fastest during practice, thought maybe he could get qualifying, but falls to third. It's the 8 of Christopher Leftwich, with Christopher Simon going to be to his outside in fourth, with Justin McMahon in a fifth. Sixth is Mike Leftwich, with Ryan Dixon coming off of his second place finish last week, who'd love to get back up front. We'll be starting in seventh, with Jamie Horn eighth. Ninth is Danielle Wilkerson, and finishing out our top 10, it's Tyler Millette in the 94.
Starting in 11th, it's going to be the 14 car of Mark Dumont. Alongside him in 12th, it's the 4 car of Bill Gentry. On the inside in 13th, it's the 51 of Joe McKnight. On the outside in 14th, it's going to be the 17 of Richard Leclerc. 15th is going to go to the 43 of Eric Anderson, with 16th in qualifying going to Stephen Bonomo. 17th is going to be Eric Warman, with 18th going to the 50 of Michael Dow. 19th is going to be the 23 of Jonathan Smith. 20th is going to be Brandon Bowie, and running our 21 car field here tonight is our points leader, Brandon Six.
21 drivers expected to be taking the grid here tonight at Las Vegas. All have done so and will be taking off here shortly. Tonight's race at Las Vegas, 130 laps in total length. No stage break, no fast repairs. These drivers also will be having in pit road 3 extra sets of tires if needed, as well as working with a 70% fuel load. And I'm curious, Zach, I mean, we've seen it all night long, on how this fuel load is going to be changing up this race, or are they more concerned about the tires, because both are limited here tonight?
You know, that fuel load is definitely going to change things up when it comes to the strategy of how far you can stretch it here, because, you know, tires are very, very important, but you would want to stretch it if you had that 100% fuel load as far as you possibly can. So we'll see what that does to the strategy. I'm going to have to crunch a few numbers really to see how it's going to work out with the fuel here, but 130 laps here tonight. These drivers are definitely going to, so to say, have their hands full with just only being in the draft and also the handling of their cars. But the strategy is definitely going to be a huge topic, and I think we're definitely looking towards a 2-stopper here tonight if we stay green.
2 drivers did announce that they were going to be doing a start and park tonight, so given the minimum amount of points that you can be getting for tonight's race, going to be the 45 of Gary Clune, as well as the 19 of Nicholas Atwood. So both Twisted Axle drivers not here, but showing that there is speed in that team still, as Andrew St. Cyr going to be starting up front. This 12, I think, for Twisted Axle, this has been a weird season of how well they ran and performed as a team last season, and just were the top runners between Kevin Thompson as well as Andrew St. Cyr. Saw the Bowie Esports drivers just take over immediately, and tonight looking for redemption to say they had a race that was all for theirs, as this has been a Twisted Axle dominated race in the past. Kevin Thompson has won, Andrew St. Cyr has won. They've led the most laps and have gotten the pole many a times in the past. Hoping for some more magic is the 12 machine, but so are so many behind them. We enter the restart zone. Race number 12 is underway for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series 2024 Season 2, Las Vegas. Who's willing to gamble it all, as St. Cyr already gone and pulling away into turn number 1.
Great jump from the 12 machine there as Christopher Leftwich is able to follow through in second. Now it's going to be Adam Thompson there fighting the 60 of Mike Leftwich off the exit of 2, with Justin McMahon there on the outside.
As looking at drivers entering tonight, Christopher Simon, there was no reports, wasn't sure what was happening on his side. Looks like packet loss as they were gridding up and about to take off, but it's going to be the 12. Andrew St. Cyr going to be the first driver across the line, leading lap number 1. Christopher Leftwich. It has been a long time since we talked about the 8 machine being up front early on in a race, but man, is it good to see him running well currently. Update on Christopher Simon. He is trying to get back into the server, but the battle for the lead still goes to St. Cyr.
But it does for the time being, as the 8 of Leftwich looks a little bit racy right now with the draft that he's getting off this 12. We'll see if he elects to make a move here down into 1. He's closing in the gap. He's going to look to the outside, but not fully be able to pull alongside him. So he's just going to slot back in here. But Adam Thompson looks like he's solidified the battle for 3rd behind him. He drops into 3rd with McMahon into 4th and Mike Leftwich in the 5th position.
And then up front, it's going to be a big swapping back and forth between our top 2. Everyone else trying to save their tires. It's getting a little bit mixy, though, for drivers around the 10th and 11th position. Drivers side by side, and this is where the gaggle of cars are that are trying to solidify what position they want to be in, because you also have fast drivers trying to figure out how they want to get through the mixture of this group, with Eric Warman in 14th, currently has a wall in front of him with Joe McKnight as well as seeing Eric Anderson in front. And then as behind them even further, just 4 or 5 positions, you see Brandon Six and Brandon Bowie willing to be patient at this current moment. No signs that it's go time just yet, just in the first 4 laps of this race.
Definitely showing a ton of patience from these two, and you love to see that. That's exactly what you would want to see. Someone coming through the field, don't go up there and just kind of barge your way through. Just go up here, take your time methodically, and keep your tires underneath you, because I think these drivers, he could go up there and try to make some crazy moves and kind of put his car in spots that he would risk it. And I think you're just being smart. If you're Brandon Six, you know that your championship contender is right behind you. And if he's behind you, you're winning.
As looking at this grouping, again, seeing drivers going back and forth on where they can go, running absolutely up to the outside wall. Going to be the black and red machine in the 27. Christopher Simon back out on track. 4 laps down after missing the starting grid. Qualified 4th. Going to need a few cautions to get back into this race. Unfortunately, cautions are not known here at Las Vegas. Even with last season's moments and a lot of caution-filled events, it was one of the lowest caution count races with just 1 last season. The most they've ever had here in a Las Vegas race was 2. So if you're that 27 machine, you're hoping to get a lot of cautions here early on. As seeing that 27 fall backwards up front, it's Chris Leftwich able to get by Andrew St. Clair, and has been able to pull away with almost a full second ahead of Adam Thompson. Core has fallen down to 3rd. It looks like tire saving is massive in the mind of the 12, which means, Zach, we look back to last season, this was the MO of the Twisted Axle teammates.
That it really was. They were so good in the long run last season, and I think we know that Andrew St. Clair always wanted to pace himself and always be prepared to if the run goes long. So we'll see how long this run does necessarily go. Will they run the full tank out, or will we get a caution to kind of separate things up? But right now, a lot of drivers have different strategies when it comes to how they're running. I tell you what, the Leftwich family, they brought some great cars here tonight. The 8 and the 60 both showing a ton of speed. Is now Mike Leftwich going to be trying to make the pass on the 12 to break his way into the top 10.
Mike Leftwich, one of his better qualifying runs. That's a non-super speedway, and this is great to see from the 60 machine. Again, this is the 9th time that this league is ran here at Las Vegas, and having that amount of experience, especially in an open setup league, I'd imagine, Zach, all that information of being a veteran is going to come together and help you in nights like tonight.
Oh, for sure. The experience is so valuable. People just really, I think, underestimate how much experience is a huge thing. And even build to build, things change on iRacing. That's the thing about that's unrealistic to the real world, where in the real world we have the same physics each and every day we're out there. But in iRacing, those things can change. It looks like the 4-built entry. They're making a little contact with the 23 of Jonathan Smith there. Is just stacking up in that group. But it's definitely always not easy to stay on top of, and experience can help you even when things change.
Bill Gentry, a winner here in Las Vegas back in 2021 fall season, and has not found the same success recent days. The 4 trying to find stability currently, and will be on the outside row, letting some drivers drive on to by and try to find where there's some grip to work with, because this 4 looking a little bit out of control, especially on the center off, as we saw there through 3 and 4, just trying to throttle it up, and rear end almost wanted to step out as he was trying to get up to speed.
This track, it's easy to do that. That's a lot of times what you see this racetrack is the rear end kind of go away, especially if you want to have a car that's going to have a ton of speed. You got to kind of build it to be a little bit loose to where it's going to want to turn and not go up the racetrack, and it's got to keep the momentum. So it's definitely going to be something, I think, as the run goes on, you're going to see more and more drivers fighting. As I said that, I saw one of them, he was breaking loose, and he's now falling back. I think that's going to be Mark Dumont in the 14.
Mark Dumont in the 14 machine, he was up there battling with Joe McKnight and a few others, and those tires starting to fall away. Especially we're seeing the drivers that were battling side by side ever since the drop of the green. They're the ones that are seeing the tire issues showing early on, just 13 laps after starting lap 14 for tonight's race. Again, no stage break here this evening as Mark Dumont, big save once again, as that rear end, this machine is out of control. Just 14 laps into this run, That is not a good sign if you're Mark Dumont. He's got to be thinking of adjustments that can help stabilize this machine for the long run, because it is looking like a caution is awaiting for the 14.
He is very out of control right now, and you know, when it starts to go away in the next gen, as you see it doing right there, it is so tough to hang on to, as he's gonna go for a ride here possibly, and he's gonna keep it gathered up. That's a great job to somehow have this car still straight. He's gonna have Michael Dow catching up here in the 50 here very quickly. And that 14, the rear tires are just so hot, Sam, that he is gonna have to either come to pit road and make a change, or he's just gonna have to go slow for multiple laps to even try to get a tire temperature back down.
Another driver who was caught up with issues going to be the 17 of Richard Leclerc. He had to go into pit road to get service done after hard contact to the outside wall, but the rest of the field stays green, and we are about to be seeing a transition for the lead position, I think, here shortly, as are going to be Christopher Lethwich as well as Adam Thompson. They have gapped themselves over 2.5 seconds over the battling for third place, and the 71 has ran down Lethwich. The question is, has all of this effort been for nothing, to where you're going to get caught right back up, as drivers going back and forth behind the 71? Going to be debut racing for Julio Villalobos Jr. in the 78. Surprised to see the newcomer, who showed up right as qualifying was finishing up, missed the start of the race at a start in pit road. And so the 78 looking for a caution to get into this race and have a chance, but riding right behind our leaders and getting a good sense of what the lead pace is like is the 78, as drivers further on back. This is the battle for fourth place. It's St. Cour as well as Jamie Horn, Justin McMahon, all on top of one another as they go across the start-finish line.
Looks like the 60 starting to fall off a little bit of Mike Lethwich, and he's starting to get right in the hornet's nest, so to say. And you're having drivers like Warman, Wilkerson, all of them trying to go forward right now, with a few drivers struggling. Even McMahon starting to go backwards a little bit. So a few of these drivers, I think, starting to lose the rear ends of these race cars. And that is a tough thing to have happen, because it just becomes worse and worse as the run goes on here at Vegas with how high the speeds are. And right now, you see the contact right at 6.
It's Eric Warman at 6 making contact. 6 has to back off. Bowie takes advantage after that contact, and that was a hard lick to the 06's side. Thought there was going to be a black flag with the way in the area that the 6 machine was made contact, as that wheel well so fragile in the old damage model. It looks like for Brandon 6, he'll still race on. No required damage flag given, but a big scare. He'll have to resettle and try to run down his teammate once again.
I think he had thoughts of the Charlotte Roval there very quickly of, oh no, just does my toe link break again? And luckily it seems like it stays together. Hopefully nothing too bent there for him, and he'll try to get back going. So great save, but that shows you just how easy things can slip away from you if you're the championship leader. Now he's got to focus his sights and try to go to get his teammate Brandon Bowie, who's right in front of him.
Brandon Bowie and 6 both have stayed basically painting that white line, staying low throughout this whole entire run. Kind of shocked to see all the drivers that have been staying high. Maybe due to the fact that they feel more comfortable up there, felt like there was more speed, as Eric Warman tries to stay down low on that white line, not able to do so, and Bowie will ride right up to that back bumper into the inside quarter panel as the 54. Smooth sailing, it looks like currently. More drivers entering pit road, as Christopher Simon, again, who had to miss the start. He is thinking about going eventually back into pit road, but it's Mark Dumont who is now in pit road. We saw the 14 having his big slides in wobbles everywhere. He's spending some extra time in pit road, joining Richard Leclerc in the 17, as this is battling we see on screen going on for 9th place between Warman and Bowie.
Well, there's some great battling. Warman definitely not giving up on this fight one bit at all, as he's actually going to clear that 54 back down the straightaway. And right now Brandon Bowie got the reset, and look at this, Brandon 6 already with the great recovery right to the back bumper of the 54. So we thought at one point, you know, was he going to get knocked out there for a second, and he's right back in the mix again. So don't count out the 06 here, as he's right there behind him. And Warman really putting up a fight here.
I mean, Warman's putting up a fight, and I think the thing that's helping him is the fact that he's running about a half a car length higher than where the 54 wants to ride, as almost contact going into the corner. Warman, big slide and wiggle up the track, helps Brandon 6 get by Bowie. Bowie has to resettle, But a look for Eric Warman, he thought he was still clear to drive down in front of the 54 into the corner, not able to do so. Instead, Warman stays high, Bowie Esports goes through, and we stay green as now 9th and 10th is Six and Bowie, who are first and second in the points. The championship hopefuls continue their march forward. Only trouble, they're over 3.5 seconds back from our leader as Eric Warman is fading backwards. The question is, how many more drivers can he hold off before he just starts to free fall quickly going backwards? As we were watching some of that great action, Adam Thompson has been able to make the pass over the 8 machine of Chris Leftwich to get back in the lead position, but as that battle happened, they lost almost over a full second to 3rd place, which is Andrew St. Cour. And looking at the pace, St. Cour has called it's time to go. Running about a 10 faster that last lap. We'll get a clearer picture on this run, but it looks like the 12 trying to run down our leaders that in 25 laps, they have not been caught. They've continued to stay up front as Chris Leftwich goes all the way up to the outside wall. I think a little bit too high than maybe you liked, but trying to utilize all the momentum possible on the backstretch.
They say use all the racetrack. He definitely did that, Sammy. I think it was a little too much though from him there. I think he'll try to reel that back in there a little bit. But yeah, this 12 machine is starting to reel everybody in front of him in. And what's going to be interesting to see if Jamie Horn can keep up with the lights, because Horn 98 showing really good pace, keeping right up here with the 12. The 03 Brian Nixon, same with Tom Millette, our winner from Kansas. So we got some really strong cars in the second pack. I wouldn't be surprised to see him close in, but that 12 right there was flirting with disaster on the exit.
Flirting with disaster, but we're talking about how the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series is an open setup league. That means you can make changes, make gearing ratio adjustments, as well as different changes. And Zach, I think the biggest surprise was watching during practice, some drivers staying in 4th gear, deciding to find a different gear ratio instead of popping it into 5th, staying in 4th on these runs. And those adjustments so different from what we usually see with our fixed setup leagues that we watch week in and week out.
It really is. It is so different because, normally we're used to seeing the shifting from 4th to 5th. And the one thing that, we're watching here with the 12 is he's not shifting at all. He's staying right in 4th gear all the way around here, and his RPMs are just so high around the whole track, and even fully almost revving out here now going off into the corner. And one thing I'm also looking at, Sam, is other people are doing different things, like the likes of Brandon Six out there. He's running just 5th gear around the whole entire track. So it shows you there's multiple different ways that you're on this track, and then when you throw the open setup things in there, it really changes everything. And we'll get to see how these things work out. But actually, for the first time, I just seen Brandon Six did shift. So we're starting to see a little bit more drivers doing that.
Again, those lower speeds with the tire wear not able to carry as much momentum, shifting down as our leader currently Adam Thompson running about a second slower than his fastest lap that he put earlier in the race. So we're inching closer and closer to when pit stops are going to line up, but battling up in a top 3 has gotten a little bit closer because of Andrew St. Cour has caught up to the back bumper of Leftwich, has been able to get past Villalobos Jr. is going to be the 12 machine now marching to the inside, getting by Chris Leftwich. Leftwich just doesn't have the momentum to fight back to the 12 machine. He might give another run here to the inside, but doesn't have enough speed. He'll stay high once again, and it's Andrew St. Cour who took the pole, backed off, thought about protecting his tires over everything else, and now on the back bumper within a lap or 2 of taking this lead.
And it's paying off huge for the 12 with whatever he did, because the speed, Sam, is giant over everybody. I mean, really only Horn and Dixon were kind of matching him that last lap. So we'll see those, 3 kind of come into the picture, but you can already see the 12 to the inside of the 71 Adam Thompson. And it's going to be almost a clean, easy pass for the lead here with the pace that he just has right now. And the 12 just looking strong, but the 71, as I say that, he's going to fight back with a side draft. It just shows you it ain't over till you clear.
That has always been the point of racing. It's easier to catch someone than to pass them, but you just have a sense this 12 is going to get it done. Now going to be fully clear. Drifts in front of the 71 machine of Thompson. Thompson was thinking about ducking low, but he's been running the outside groove. He has to continue to stay up there as St. Cour fully passes, makes the clearance, and looking at other drivers' pace. We know that the Bowie Esports drivers of Brandon 6 and Brandon Bowie, they are running about 2/10 faster than anyone. The only thing that's helping our front runners is the fact that there's a gap of over 2.5 seconds from our leader back to where Brandon 6 runs. But if we stay green, I'm just curious on what pitch strategy calls, if you're interested, or can you make to make the adjustment to try to hold back the power of 6 in Bowie, that even though they're in traffic, they are running so fast they should be catching up to our leaders here by the time that we get close to maybe our second pit stop of the night.
It very well could be that way. And, we'll see what St. Cor can do here once he's out front, because that time right there at 30:58, the Bowie Esports cars running about a 30.7. They are making passes, and Brandon Bowie a 30.59. So pretty much matching what St. Cor is running up front, with them being right here tucked up behind Justin McMahon. And like you said, the biggest thing for them, they're 3 seconds back now from St. Cor. And if you're St. Cor, you just kind of got to keep doing what you're doing. You did an excellent job of, managing the pace, and it seems like your car is handling pretty well. And even surprisingly, last one of the times there before, the 8 of Leftwich, he's kind of coming back at the 71 of Thompson. So the battle for second is even heating up, and then Horn's coming into the picture. So this run here has been really excellent.
The more they go beating and banging back and forth, they could hold back this group and enable St. Cor to just pull away bigger of a log jam to stop drivers that maybe have set up for this long run pace. But we do have updates of drivers further on back. Michael Dow, Richard Leclerc, both drivers caught up with incidences in the first 15 laps of this race that had to go into pit road to get service done. Both have left the server and have called it an evening. You hate to see that for drivers, again, that are just searching for a survival race, a race that you could say that at least they finished. They've yet to find that so far. They'll have to reset and be back. Holiday break starts early for the 14 to 17. Again, we are taking a basically a 4-week break, as we will be gone for the rest of December. We'll be back January 9th for more racing action, as a lot of our leagues are coming to an end. It's crazy to think that 2024 is here and gone just as quickly as watching Adam Thompson and also going to be Leftwich racing side by side. Dixon gets close to the outside wall, and it's now Horn utilizing that outside row. But it's crazy, Zach, to think this season almost over. I know with the hurricanes that happened just a few months ago, that really put a damper on the way that this season was going, because I know a few drivers were dealing with the devastation that happened in Florida with power being out, flooding disasters. It kind of took some drivers away from racing. It gave us 2 weeks off, and tonight was supposed to be the night that they concluded this season, but pushing it out into 2025. It's crazy to think we still have 2 more races after this.
It is kind of crazy to think about that, man. It's it's been a long season. Old's Leftwich, I'm saying that he's coming to pit road, and man, I don't know how he saved that. He's gonna gather it up, but yeah, the season's closing out, and it's crazy to say 2024 is hard closing out. I mean, it's mind blowing. Every year I get older, I feel like years go by faster. So it's definitely one of those things. But it's always great to spend the year broadcasting some great races like we hear on tonight. As pit road's getting even more busy, as Adam Thompson now coming to pit road to follow Leftwich now.
And Steve Monoma over the radio. Justin McMahon following the 71. It's pit road, pit stop time, and some of these drivers taking it, some overly patient, overly safe, others overly aggressive, like we saw Chris Leftwich in the 8 machine. And sometimes that aggression can reward you later on. The 71 of Adam Thompson took that so gingerly into pit road. I'm curious on the amount of time that he lost with how smooth and gentle compared to Justin McMahon. Thompson just gave up 2 seconds, 3 seconds, excuse me, for free because of how gentle he was. Now Andrew St. Cour going to be going into pit road to get service done for himself, as our leader going to be trying to retaliate to those that have already pitted before him. And this is time to see these drivers switching it back and forth on what call is the better one. Is it pitting now, pitting closer to lap 45, or can the drivers even go any further? As now it's going to be Jamie Horn, Brian Dixon still up front. Not a lot of calling from our front runners over the radio, but it's Horn who's now going to be making the stop at a pit road. And Zach, I know we saw this on Freaky Fast Broadcasting last night. Drivers not making a vocal noise of "I'm going into pit road" can cause incidences if drivers are not aware of their surroundings.
Oh, it definitely can. Yeah, if you don't know someone's pitting, you can easily run right in the back of them. You're not expecting someone to kind of stop around the exit of a corner. So it is something that you got to vocalize, and that's a ability we have to do, here on iRacing. So everybody doing a good job so far of it right now, getting through pit road. But it's gonna be Brandon Six, Brandon Bowie right now leading the way as they've stayed out here. And I kind of thought pit stops would come around this point, but it was a little bit earlier than I thought around 43, 44. So I was thinking kind of this lap right here would be where it started, but a few drivers going a little bit aggressive with a little bit of an undercut. So not surprised to see that too much. I think we'll see these drivers here pitting not too soon.
As Brandon Six looking slow, same going to be the 78 entering pit road. Brandon Bowie as well, all going to be making their stops in. First green flag stops of the evening. Everyone able to enter pit road at least cleanly. Exiting, we'll see if there's a difference. No one caught with speeding. You'll love to see that as a whole. And with that, our first green flag pit stops are done. It's going to be Chris Leftwich taking the lead after this pit cycle concludes. Then behind him going to be Andrew St. Cour, who let the 8 go on by to protect the tires. So the 12 going right back to what worked in the first stint. See if it will work for the second as we are closing in on finishing up lap 45 here. We start lap 46. We're going to be taking our first commercial break of the evening as Chris Leftwich is now our leader up front, and he certainly is looking for one of his best nights of the season. For us, though, up in the booth, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will be giving you more of Las Vegas here for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. Las Vegas, it's been a good one so far. We'll see if we continue to stay green. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me up the booth is Zach Hall, and running productions is Robert Moyer Jr. You're currently watching the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series 2024 Season 2, Race 12 at Las Vegas. It is Chris Leftwich leading the charge by over 3.7 seconds over Andrew St. Cour, who has really been backing off the pace on saving his tires for the long run. Curious on how that's going to continue on, as looks like we've got one driver having issues back in 11th place. It's Tyler Millette who went for a ride, and it was off the nose of our points leader, as that was an incident that just happened about a lap and a half ago, as Tyler Millette slow, able to get rolling now in 13th position. But Andrew St. Cour, who is on screen with Jamie Horn, they are trying to get into cruise control, as we'll see when they decide it's pressure to push forward. We also want to say thank you to Shoney's, True Patriot Apparel, as well as SSR Designs, Buck Kicker, and Nap Daddy Designs for being the main sponsors of the Shoney's Cup Series and also leagues. But Zach, a bizarre moment, as now the Bowie Esports drivers are back in line, 7th and 8th, but they're even further back than when they made their pit entries just that of 12 laps ago.
Yeah, they're definitely further back, and yeah, that was a bizarre moment. Kind of, I went back and watched that a couple times, and it was 3 wide between Eric Anderson and Brandon Six, or it was 2 wide between Brandon Six and Eric Anderson. Then Millette comes off of 2 and gets in the middle of them, and I don't know if Brandon Six just misjudged a side draft to the 94, or does he just not realize the 94 is there? Maybe never even seen him. Because he just clearly moves out of the track and kind of turns to 94, who 360s and keeps the car going. I mean, he did an excellent job of that, but man, that's definitely hurt the tires and really hurt the track position for the 94, who was having a great run.
We were hoping that we were going to see success like we saw back at Kansas for Tyler Millette. He's going to need a caution to get back into this race, but it is the Bowie Esports drivers working in tandem with one another as they ride 7th, 8th, and 9th currently. But the drivers up front, it's Chris Leftwich leading this race by almost 4 seconds now. And Chris Leftwich, I'm trying to think back the last time when we saw this 8 machine have this big of a lead over the rest of the competition. I cannot think back to a day, because the 8's just had that bad of luck since we started covering this series last season. This is got to be a pleasure for himself to be up front and feeling this confident currently this late in the race.
It is, and the interesting thing for me is, like, we're going to be coming up here very quickly. I mean, it's completing lap 60. The pit stops for him most likely going to happen on like lap 80. I mean, he might come in that early. We might see him stretch a little farther on this run to shorten up the final run for himself, but he's not far away from his next pit stop. If he can just manage this gap and somehow, keep it within the realm, the win is in the books here. I mean, the win is in the realm for Christopher Leftwich, and that would be, I mean, a huge victory.
It certainly would be, and I'm curious on looking at other drivers that maybe could have been in the mix of running closer to that 8 machine. Adam Thompson giving up over 3 seconds just on pit entry when he drove in the 71. Currently 4 seconds back, trying to push Tyler Horn, as well as trying to help the 12 machine of St. Cour and Justin McMahon. This grouping of 4 trying to kind of look like we're racing last week at Talladega, bump drafting and staying in line moving forward, but they are not moving in a space or speed to run down the 8th. The only group that is behind them. In 6th place is the 06 of Brandon Six, and he's making all the numbers line up for him to be flying up to this pack of 4, and they could be making them look silly if they do not get up to speed quickly enough to try to run down this 8.
And it's interesting, the 12 here of, St. Cour, he, pitted earlier than all these guys except for Thompson and McMahon here in this group. And he's kind of, holding this group back right now from going forward. And because he's saving tire, and, I almost wonder if he's going a little too slow. It worked really well for him that first run, but I think he needed to utilize the gap he had already built and kind of pick up the pace just a little bit more. We'll see how this works out, but I mean, you got the likes of Brandon Six, who's going to be on like 3 to 4 lap fresher tires here. and he's already cruised up to the back of your pack, it's going to be tough to deal with him the rest of the way.
I'm curious if we can hop on board with the 12 machine of Andrew St. Court and get get into the cockpit and see what gear ratio he's in as Adam Thompson takes off. Yeah, he's in 5th. I was curious about it. If he was thinking about saving fuel, we saw the fact that 12 was staying in 4th for the whole run. He is in 5th gear, and I think, Zach, there's a fuel number issue maybe that they're looking for, that they don't feel like they're completely solid on making it to the end of this race on fuel on one more stop. So they're trying to stretch it out to the number that they feel most comfortable making it to.
You know that's very possible, Sam. And also another thing, it's crazy to say this, but a lot of times what people will do is they'll actually use 5th gear to kind of save tires. It is actually somehow a little bit less, brutal on the tires, and it makes you carry a little bit less speed sometimes, where you have to slow up the car yourself really to get it wound up. So maybe trying to save a little tire like this, but again, he's staying in 5th right here, and you can see in his mirror right behind him, look at that, that's the black number 06. He's right there on the back bumper, and he's going to be challenging. This would, at some point maybe be the lead if these guys can run down left with you. Again, 4.2 seconds out front, he's just running excellent out front.
He's running excellent, but again, those fuel number is going to be the big question of the evening, as we know for Brandon 6, also for Bowie, they stretched it out the furthest of anyone, so they've got a good margin of fuel to then go further than his competition around them. 6, Bowie outside, making the run go forward, as Brian Dixon not able to stay attached to the 2 front runners in this pack. Currently, again, this is battling for 2nd place, or leader of Chris Leftwich, now less than 4 seconds ahead of this group, as now the Bowie Esports drivers who started at the back, both all the way at the end of the line, now going to be making the charge to catch up to our leaders as this run continues on.
And that time right there, almost 0.4 of a second is what Brandon 6 gained. So we'll see how fast they can continue to close in, but it's interesting. Court getting overtaken by Adam Thompson, letting him go around. So St. Court playing very, very passive on this run. And my thing is, like, he pitted at lap 42. We're already 26 laps into this run. 4 more laps, you'll be like less than 10 laps away from pitting almost. So it's not, it's not early in the run. I think he needs to use a little bit more tire.
Just taking it easy, watching the competition drive on by. And our pole sitter that at the time of us going and starting our last pit cycle over 25 laps ago was this 12 up front in a comfortable position, now under threat of drivers stealing away what was going to look like a win, looking like it was picture perfect as the pit cycle began. But again, pit road, such a changing dynamic of how you can gain time, lose time, and how one race stint can change to the other. I know weather also a condition that we know could be changing up for these drivers on. You're running faster as the night goes on because the track cools off. Maybe that's the reason why we're seeing some drivers back off their pace and not fully utilizing their speed, because they know if they drive at full pace, they're going to be burning off fuel a little bit faster than they did in that first run.
That's very right too, Sam. I mean, it's going to really depend on that, as if that is going to be an issue for these drivers or not. Is right now Jamie Horn's starting to bring his way back into the picture, and it's so close between this grouping. We're right now from 8th all the way up to the 2nd position. They're almost all in line as the Beauty Sports cars are starting to kind of break away from that line, but it just shows you how close everybody is at. But now about 3 seconds separating the top 2.
As Brian Dixon trying to slice and dice in between Horn and St. Cours, and we'll get to the inside quarter panel of the 12 machine, but backs off on entry, not able to keep that pace. That teal and black machine gonna be the lap down driver of Julio in the 75, trying to find his way to become the first driver 1 lap down. Currently, it is Michael Dow who's gonna be the first driver 1 lap down. What this group is catching up to is that 50 machine, as we're on lap 72 of 130 here tonight. It's been a long race so far. Green flag racing that we love to see. There's been a couple of moments throughout the evening, but for now, we're keeping it close between everyone. Here's a driver who qualified well, but is falling off the pace, who just left pit road. It's going to be Mike Leftwich, who's going to be opting into a 3-stop here tonight. I don't know if that's going to be the winning call of the evening, but the 60 machine going to be one of the first drivers to show a 3-stop is going to be the call here tonight.
That's what it looks like for him. Is, ooh, Eric Anderson there, a big slide off of 4, almost hits contact with the wall, but he's going to gather it up because he's got the 51 of Joe McKnight right behind him. This is the battle for 9th and 10th here, as McKnight about 2 lap fresher tires. He's been able to close this gap down, and they've also got about 2 seconds back to Millette, who is trying to recover from that spin around.
Tyler Millette's spin that really sent him around. Eric Gorman, we see on screen, entering tonight 4th in points. And Tyler Millette got the win at Kansas just a few weeks back. And the 94 was hoping to carry that momentum. Not going to be the case. Currently under fire from Jonathan Smith in the 23. This is battling for 11th position currently. As I want to say thank you to everyone that's watching with us here tonight. If this is your first time watching a Freaky Fast broadcast, we appreciate you joining in and watching the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. We've got a special event that's going to be coming out next month for us with the new year. We have our 4th annual 6 Hours Daytona charity race, as we are partnering up with Breakthrough T1D to raise money to find a way to stop diabetes, as our 4th annual one, our 3rd endurance race, an event that we are so proud of having each and every year possible for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. If you'd like to find more information about this special event that we have going on January 4th and the new year, we will be having all the information on our social media sites, on Twitter, otherwise known as X, and on Facebook. Look up Freaky Fast Broadcasting. You can find us and you will see the information about the 6-hour charity race that we have going on. An exciting event. We already have plenty of different teams that have signed up, and this year we're doing a little bit differently. Incentive-based rewards have now been entered into this year. If we're able to raise a certain amount of money at different spots, we will be hitting different special markers of special moments that we're going to be putting into the broadcast, as well as ways that you can interact yourself donating during the race. But I know, Zach, we got plenty of different ways that we're going to be having drivers interacting with the race. But the fun thing is, when we are hitting these markers, we have a couple of different goals. $500. We're going to have the Category 5 esports team. They're going to be coming into the booth and having their own commentating section. At 600, me, myself, and I am going to be having different accents that I'll be doing during the race. At $700, we'll be bringing in Vinny and Danny to have their own fun moments for a couple of minutes. At $800, if we hit that goal, we'll have drivers in race having the chat open. We'll let them know, hey, you're on the broadcast and stream. For 10 minutes, they get to chat away with you in chat. At $900, we'll have Christopher Norris come in and talk. And then at $1,000, our very own Zach Hall will be in car racing and commentating with us up in the booth. Again, those are just the first couple of incentive goals. If we hit, we have plenty of more, and they get more outrageous and more painful as we go along, as we've got plenty of more information we'll be giving out as the weeks get closer to, again, our 6 Hours of the Daytona charity race, January 4th. Zach, I know it's an event we're excited for. We'll touch on it in a little bit, because our leader will not make it to the number we thought he was going to. Chris Leftwich is into pit road, 4 tires and fuel at lap 80. This is way sooner than we thought he was going to get to.
Yeah, that's a little bit sooner than I thought. I mean, it sticks to the 40 kind of strategy that he was sticking to, but figured he would take it a little bit farther into that run. So we'll see how this works out. Really, how did the fuel even make it? I think the huge question to ask. So we'll see. But Brandon 6 now going to take hold of the lead. Brandon Bowie in second, about 6/10 back. Brandon Dixon up the third. So it's a 1-2-3 for the Bowie Esports cars. Really doing an excellent job. An interesting course, still back there in 5th behind Adam Thompson, who the 12 just not able to find his grounding yet. And I mean, we're right here where pit stops happened just a moment ago last time.
Absolutely wild over the radio. Going to be the 71 of Adam Thompson saying he's going into the pits. So we are starting to see more drivers making the call. Pit road is calling now, and it is our early stop. Are they being forced to do so? Again, fuel that these drivers are rolling with here tonight is a 70% fuel, so they are not at 100%. They are not able to go that full 50 to 55 laps that you can sometimes go at a 1.5 mile course. They're going less than that. That's why we're seeing these drivers pit sooner than we would traditionally see on a Wednesday night. And right now it's Brandon Six and also going to be Brandon Bowie, Brian Dixon, who stayed out the longest of all drivers. We're not surprised that they could stretch it out this long. The question is, how much further can they go compared to the rest of the field? Because we were seeing Six, Bowie, and others pushing their fuel a lot further, but also on this second run, they were not just in the draft, they were leading groups trying to get as quick as possible.
That's exactly right. Yeah, they were leading groups, and when you're leading a group, you're not getting that draft assistance to help the fuel mileage. So we'll see what the distances they can stretch this time, but very interesting to see that St. Core seems like he's picked up the pace here. He's closed up to the back of Brandon Bowie and Brian Dixon, but still losing time to the leader of Brandon Six out front. So the 12 here, I think, just not getting this run perfect for himself with how it all worked out. His whole right against the wall almost, as he was looking so strong before the first set of pit stops. Now a little bit of a struggle starting to click in, and maybe this track going through a little bit of a change.
As we are on lap 85, about to be starting lap 86, it's Brandon Six up front, about over a second and a half ahead of his teammate, Brian Dixon. Brandon Bowie back in third, and more pit stops being finished up. We still wait for our top 6 drivers to enter pit road. And there have been some drivers that have been really sliding onto pit entry and have also slid through their box to lose time. Haven't seen anyone get caught with a black flag yet, but with the way that some drivers have been running back and forth, I wouldn't be surprised. And just as I say that, Daniel Wilkerson caught speeding on pit entry. Here's going to be St. Core as well as Horn making their stop, trying to slow all the way down to 50 miles per hour. And you hate to see that for the 28 of Wilkerson. It was kind of a quiet night this evening, as now it's the Bowie Esports drivers 1, 2, 3, and over the radio, Dixon says he's pitting. Bowie might be making the call as well, as the 03 stays low, and it will back off, let his teammate have space as Bowie continues to stay out. Brandon Six into pit road for himself, and it's Bowie who goes farther than his teammates.
That he does. He's going to elect to go farther here and get out there and lead himself a lap. So interesting to see if he reacts this next time down. I don't think you want to go too much longer. If anything, I think that max stretching out 2 more laps than them, but I don't think you want to wait much more than that, Sam, because you want to make sure you're still in the drafting range of them. Just keep up.
As Brandon Bowie starts to slow down, pit entry calling the 54, and that'll be one of our last drivers to make their stop, leaving us with everyone having the question, can you stretch it from here, or are you going to have to make another pit stop? There's a few drivers that we know have one more pit stop. Mike Leftwich, the obvious one, he is for sure not going to make it, but there are about a handful to 8 drivers that still are in a position where it's questionable if they could save the fuel to make it to the end while keeping good track position. You might have to just throw away your race to make it to the end, but as pit cycle concludes, it is going to be Chris Leftwich taking the lead, but he's one of the major factor drivers of, I don't think he can make it because of how short that last stint was.
I think you're exactly right, Sam. I think it's going to be not in the range for him, and if it is, it's going to be way farther than he's ran all night on tires, so he's going to have to really think about that if that's the case. So we'll see how this all shakes out when it's said and done, but Brandon Six, I think, when it all is said and done and does cycle through, still going to be in that second position. And for him to pit the one of the latest times here of anybody, he's going to really feel confident about that coming out in second.
Well, with the pit cycle concluding, it's now time for us to step away for another time here tonight. With the fact that Leftwich has 9-second difference over Six, he might be able to back off and give up some time, but it is time. It's the rest of this race. Who will be the winner? Is it fuel mileage, or could be a caution? We'll have to find out when we come back. More racing action here at Las Vegas for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. As tonight we find ourselves with these drivers all in fuel saving mode from second on back. One is not saving fuel. That's this driver on screen. Your leader currently is Chris Leftwich with an 8-second gap lead. Currently is trying to find a way to save fuel compared to those that are drafting with one another. It's Bowie Esports and Andrew St. Cyr in 4th place, just lingering in wait. And we were seeing Eric Anderson trying to stay attached to this group. Same for Justin McMahon. They're starting to fade backwards, but it is down to who can save enough fuel. The driver with the best chance is Brandon Bowie. Believes this driver might be putting his best on and throwing them away, as the leader is the one who's usually using the most fuel when up front. Well, Brandon 6th, only to put pressure on his teammate. Throw it's just dead, but they were willing to battle back and forth.
Definitely a great battle going on here. Is we're both a little bit difficult. Right, we have even issues on our Discord server right now. Is we're starting to get the experience as a career, and it's definitely coming down to the end here. Saying with guys, we're gonna have a and it's gonna be the question of can left save the fuel, and will these guys get. And we're going to a full screen commercial. Everything up.
wide behind for fifth.
Oh my, the 5 wide here, this ain't gonna work. They make it last, bumping and banging to the end. They're beating banging for the lead. Sora still with the shot here, coming off a 4. That's it.
It's bottom line, here it comes. I know Carter gets wrecked. It's gonna be that Nick Crawford. The 74 gets through somehow, and they just completely demolish one another. Trying to dive it down low, drifting up, trying to be the stealer. Here he comes, Cedric Hunter. He does it. He steals it.
But he somehow drove it into the corner to wreck him.
Oh, they wrecked. They wrecked each other. The top two bounced into one another. Just too much of side drifting off of, and they got to be careful. Oh no, the 4 demolishes in the 28. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We hope that we figured out what the issues were. We'll keep an eye out on if anything else pops up, but we believe that we got our issues fixed, and currently we're down to the final 15 laps of tonight's race for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series, race number 12 of the season, and it's down to fuel mileage. Chris Leftwich could not make it on fuel. He had to go into pit road for 4 tires and fuel. Currently, the first driver 1 lap down. We have 3 drivers, technically 4, all within a second of one another. And the big question on their minds is, can we save enough fuel and be the fastest driver up front? Currently, it's Brandon 6 who feels the most comfortable and confident. He's been slowly inking out just a little bit more of a gap between himself and Brandon Bowie in second place. Andrew St. Cyr is on the back foot. He's the driver that has to save the most of all these 4 drivers in this shot, and he currently has been trying to keep pace with the Bowie Esports driver. But Zach, I'm in a spot where I don't know how confident Andrew St. Cyr can feel, because I don't know if there's going to be any moment during this race where he can take off and go at full speed like we saw during that first stint.
I'd have to agree with you. Yeah, if he's definitely dealing with those issues, because he's, you know, like you said, got the most laps on his tank here of any of these drivers around him. So he's going to have the most amount of conservation, and it's going to be coming down to the wire, I think, for this 12 machine. So we'll see how it works out. I mean, I think he's going to risk it because, again, not in the championship battle, hasn't been able to be here for all the races this season. So not in the championship battle, he has really nothing to lose out here. So I think he's going to risk it, and we'll see how he can close out this race. He looked so good in that first stint. The second stint, it seemed to disappear, but right now, maybe find out a little bit more magic again.
Trying to find the magic, and again, our top 4 all within a second of one another. 5th place is Justin McMahon and Tyler Millette back in 5th and 6th place. Want to give kudos to Millette, who was trying his best to recover after being spun around, but he's going to be in a spot again where almost everyone in the field, except for Chris Leftwich, Jonathan Smith, as well as Joe McKnight, they're going to be looking at those fuel gauges and crossing their fingers that they've got enough to make it to the end. There's a couple of drivers like Millette where I think they might have just bit a little bit too much than they can chew. They might run out of fuel with about 2 laps to go, but the 94 will try his best to recover after the spin that he had off the nose of this 06 machine of Brandon 6. And running well, trying to move up into 5th place is the 94 machine, as we're now going to be with 11 laps to go, make it 10. I mean, Zach, this race is going to be really down to those final 4 to 3 laps on who really does have the fuel and who has to make an emergency stop to just top off and go.
You're exactly right, because looking at lap times, I mean, everybody in our top 4 almost identical last time around. Really, the only person who wasn't was Andrew St. Cyr, a little bit off pace of what the others were, but right there, very close to it. So just shows you how close everybody is here with 9 laps to go. Also, again, Millette, we'll see if these, if they can, make it. They're, of course, in the worst, spot than the drivers ahead of them with where they pitted. But if Millette can somehow bring this home here in 5th, 6th after that spin, this would be a huge, huge job by him, because that 360 definitely hurt the tires on that run and lost them a ton of time.
It certainly did. Eric Anderson had to make an emergency stop a lap ago. Going to be taking just fuel only. As up front, it's still Brandon 6, Brandon Bowie, and luckily they're closing in on some lap traffic that might help with fuel for some, might hurt the battle for others. As Michael Dow will stay high, Bowie's going to be trying to keep speed to go around the 50 machine, as they're closing up on going to be the 98 of Jamie Horn, as well as the 20. Going to be seeing also the 71 of Adam Thompson, 2 drivers that are in extreme fuel saving mode because they pitted way earlier than everyone else. And for the likes of Thompson and Horn, also were pretty generous on the amount of time they were willing to save. So now in trouble of going a lap down due to the fact that we've been green since the drop of the green. These drivers, we will be down once our leaders get by to just our top 6 on the lead lap as Thompson stays high. Same for Horn. Zach, this is crazy to see on our ticker board. It's just our top 6 that you can see the numbers on.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy to see that, and it just shows you how big pit strategy can be. And you can see the 8 car here coming up the challenge. That's Christopher Leftwich. He's got those newer tires. He's going to drive around our leader, Brandon 6, and that's going to unlap himself. And so for Leftwich, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, he's not going to come home with the win. He's had a great run here tonight, but he's still going to be fighting for at least 7th. And if a few of these other guys have to end up pitting, he could possibly still get a top 5. So not the end of the day here for Leftwich. Still a great run, I think, from that 8 car.
And Adam Thompson could not make it. He made an emergency pull down to the apron to get out of the way of the rest of the fast drivers. His fuel numbers were too low. Only 41 laps for Thompson. Another driver on 41 laps, which is going to be Tyler Millette in the 94. He might be having to pull in and make an emergency pit stop. And I think for a majority of the field, maybe they were thinking that we were going to have a caution, as 2 of the past 8 races that have been ran here at Las Vegas have gone completely caution-free. All the other ones have at least had 1 or 2 cautions. So drivers might have been banking on that yellow flag to come out. Was not going to be the case. Instead, it's Brandon 6, now with over a half a second lead over his teammate Brandon Bowie. The 2 drivers feeling the most comfortable continue to stay out. Now Justin McMahon into pit road and Chris Leftwich. As long as this race stays clean and green, he might be poised to get a top 5 finish for the 8 machine.
And I tell you what, McMahon hits pit road, like you said. Millette, though, also hits pit road. He's spun getting on the pit road, so he's most likely going to have a black flag for entering pit unsafe entry here. So that's going to ruin his race. But who else is going to be able to make it is the huge question. Can St. Cyr, can the others do it? Is now Leftwich making his way up to the top 5.
With 3 laps to go, welcome to no man's land for at least a few of these drivers. 40 laps was the window to 41. Or the fuel was just a little bit too far for some of these drivers to take it. One driver has gone for 42 laps, and that was Tyler Millette before he had to pull into pit road. And for some of these drivers, it might be the number of 43 that they've got to hit, or at least 42 and a half, as 6 is saying it's go time. He's up to over a second. Bowie is dropping back. Dixon is giving the call to go into second position. And now it's the charge between St. Cyr, having a little bit of help from Horn behind them. They're trying to figure out how to get by the Bowie Esports drivers, but it's St. Cyr bouncing off the outside wall. 6 is pulling away, and St. Cyr now has some slight damage for the 12 machine as he got too big of a push from Horn going into 3.
That he did. Too big of a push, and right here, it's the final lap, Sam. So 1 more to go. If these drivers are going to have any fuel problems, they're going to have it now.
Brandon 6 trying to pull away. St. Cyr into the wall, and it's Bowie Esports. 1, 2, 3, and Brandon 6 looking for number 5 here tonight as he exits at a turn number 4. The fuel is perfect, and Brandon 6 is back into victory lane. Dixon gets second, Bowie takes third, and Andrew St. Cyr, he might be just coasting, but he'll take 4th as Chris Leftwich still goes around the track. He still has a half a lap to go, but he's got plenty of fuel, plenty of tires, and the 8 will take 5th place for himself.
Great job by Leftwich still to get 5th after all that, and man, oh man, the strategy ended up being a huge factor tonight, and that first pit stop decided a lot of things. But Brandon 6, 5th victory of the season. 1, 2, 3 for Bowie Esports. And Brian Dixon, this is probably his best race of the season. You know, we've seen him have a win at, of course, that's a super speedway track, but he's ran excellent here tonight and was right there in the mix with his teammates.
I think the big thing that he could take away with it is that he pitted close to his teammates, stuck with their strategy, and it really worked out for the 03. And for us of the booth, guess what? You get a full Bowie Esports interview for your top 3. As we will step away when we come back, we will talk to Brandon 6, Brian Dixon, and Brandon Bowie and get their thoughts on tonight's race. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post race show for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Your Las Vegas race for round number 12 of the 2024 season 2 concludes, and it came down to fuel mileage and ultimately went down to the '06 of Brandon 6, finding himself in victory lane now for the 5th time this season. And this one came down to strategy as we head to victory lane. We've got the '06 with us. Brandon, it's Sam up in the booth. Congratulations on your 5th win of the season. Did that go as planned? Because that was a picture perfect race for yourself and your teammates.
Honestly, I didn't really have much of a plan. I was trying to feel the setup out. I didn't have a ton of laps into it this week. Was kind of busy this week, and so I kind of wanted to stay away from people, kind of feel the setup out, and I guess we had to save fuel, a little bit of fuel, and which kind of worked out with the way I was running the setup because I was just kind of chilling in 5th gear, which was at a lower RPM, so I didn't really have to save a ton of fuel. But I kind of just banked a little bit there when we were in a little bit of pack there in that last little run. And I had enough there to do at least a little burnout, but definitely was pretty close there at the end for sure.
I know for us up in the booth, we were concerned for those final 3 laps for everyone that was up front on who could actually make it on fuel. Was there a certain time where the team as a whole all made that call of we got to save a little bit, or was it just individually you guys knew you had to save a few?
Once we caught like a group of cars that seemed like they were going slower than they should have, and it seemed like we couldn't figure out what they were doing at first, and then we realized like they pitted really early in that first that first stint. So they were probably saving fuel because I was doing the math real quick, and I'm like, oh, then we all started checking our fuel and see if we had to save, and we didn't have to save much, like maybe a lap in the grand scheme of things. So it wasn't as bad as like some of the other guys. I think I saw Andrew there. He seemed fast, but he looked like he had to save a lot of fuel.
Well, Brandon, with this win, it puts you in a little bit more of a comfortable zone with 2 more races left in the season. How are you planning, though, to take this almost month break off before we come back for the final 2 races?
Uh, Honestly, just relax, spend time with family. Um, I've done a lot of races in this next gen car. I definitely could use a much needed break, honestly, at this point. So I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds like a great time to spend your holiday break. Well, Brandon, before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs that you have.
Yeah, I just gotta thank the team, Bowie Esports, all the work they put into for this stuff. Setup was really good tonight. I was liking it on the long run there for sure. So shout out to them, and then obviously you guys for putting on the broadcast, and you guys have a good holiday, and I'll see you in 4 weeks.
You as well, as that will be your victor here tonight in Las Vegas. It's the '06 of Brandon 6 taking the win. Enjoy this one, Brandon, and we'll see you in the new year for Phoenix.
Sounds good, guys. Have a good one.
As we move from victory lane, we go to second place to talk to his teammate, which is going to be the '03 of Brian Dixon. Brian, coming away second here tonight. You were tagging along with your teammates throughout the whole entire evening. I mean, how are you feeling coming away second here tonight in a fuel mileage run where it seemed like the team as a whole had a very successful evening?
Yeah, I felt good all night. I was just buying my time. Um, I
Well,
was just sitting there waiting, basically, saving tires.
it seemed like that was the strategy for most people this evening. I kind of asked a similar question to Brandon 6. At what point did you realize that this race was turning into a fuel mileage run? Was it early on or in the middle of this race?
Actually, I didn't plan anything. I was just driving. I'm not good at fuel saving or fuel strategy stuff at all. I think I had .6 left. That's it.
Well, you came away second here tonight. We got 2 more races left in the season. Brian, how are you feeling about these last 2 races? We're into Phoenix and then Homestead to finish out the 2024 season 2.
I'm just looking for top tens. That's about it. Uh, Phoenix, yeah, I don't know about. And Homestead, I think you said. I, I don't know.
Well, we're excited to see how it works out for yourself, Brian. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, I want to thank Doghouse for throwing this and the broadcast like always. I'll go and watch it later. And I want to thank Bowie Esports for helping me again.
As that will be the O3 machine of Brian Dixon. Brian, congratulations on this finish. Enjoy it, and we'll see you after the holiday break at Phoenix on the 9th.
Thanks, bud.
As we move from second place, we go down to third to talk to going to be Brandon Bowie in the 54, tagged along with Brandon 6 to move up through the field all throughout the night. Brandon, I mean, it's your normal thing of starting in the back. You get up front into third. You were with your teammates there late. What else did you need to find yourself in a better position, or were you kind of content coming away with third here tonight?
I mean, honestly, I didn't need that fuel mileage. What it turned out to be, but I mean, green flag. I mean, flag to flag. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Um, to be able to do that at this day and time of sim racing, right? I mean, it's just usually there's at least one or two cautions, but flag to flag was pretty cool. I just needed something that was a little bit better on the long run. I was able, I was trying to make adjustments, and I think I did get it to where I needed to. But the issue was then it became a fuel mileage race. So then it was like, okay, well, how hard do I push? How hard do I don't push? And then trying to manage the fuel and trying to actually hold people back as well. I mean, that was all a challenge in its own. But yeah, I mean, I'm content with third. That's perfectly fine. I was actually just talking to Dixon about it when I let him. When he made the move underneath of me, he was like, "Man, I thought you were gonna do the same thing you did at Talladega." I was like, "No, I'm not gonna do that again." So, it's. I want to continue to kind of catch six, but I knew from the beginning it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to catch him. He's really really good at these tracks and saving fuel, and just being able to just keep a consistent pace. So, still got a lot to learn.
Well, speaking about learning, I know iRacing came out with a new build, slight changes over this week. How do you feel like those changes you want to focus on with the fact that we've got almost a month break before the final two races? Are there anything that you want to try to focus on for these final two races setup wise, or is it just when the day comes, we'll finally get to it?
I mean, the build per se didn't for me personally. I'm mainly a road guy now, so the for the oval stuff, it didn't really affect much for me. Now adding the particles and the rubber up top, I mean, yeah, that definitely changes things for both sides. So I guess that will probably be like the main thing. I mean, I know some tracks that we got coming up where that could definitely play a factor if you get into it and you're too high, or I mean, for example, pit road or pit lane coming out of pit road and all those marbles down at the bottom. I mean, it literally just felt like I was on ice. And there was one point where I almost overcorrected back onto the track because I was just so loose coming off the corner. So yeah, that was out of everything. I would probably say that's probably the one thing that I probably need to work on a little bit better. I would have loved to have been able to run the high line a little bit more, but I was so skeptical about going up there and how the tires and the car would react to running up there. So definitely something to work on for the next couple races.
Certainly. Well, Brandon, it was a solid race for the team. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations on that. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, of course, sponsor Grimless Cards. Check them out at tinyurl.com/Grimless Cards. Use the promo code Bowie Esports 20 for 20% off. You can check them out. I gotta thank Battle Beaver, Boosted, Circle B Diecast, my team, Bowie Esports. You guys for putting on the broadcast, the league, of course, for having us, and my family. I think that's about it.
Well, that will be our third place finisher, Brandon Bowie in the 54. Congratulations on your finish, Brandon. Enjoy it. Enjoy your holiday break, and we'll see you on the 9th when we head back to Phoenix.
All right, thanks, Sam.
As that will be our top 3 finishers here tonight. Certainly a different night than what we've seen for some of the last season to this season, but it's traditional Shoney's Doghouse racing. We went from flag to flag, caution free. And at the end of the day, it came down to fuel mileage. For some drivers, they love it. For others, it's frustration. And ultimately, at the end of the day, rewarded those that were aggressive on early pit stops and also helped out those that were willing to be patient on waiting as long as they could. Here's going to be our unofficial results, though, on our standings, as it's going to be Brandon 6, Brian Dixon, and Brandon Bowie, the Bowie Esports drivers, 1, 2, 3. Andrew St. Cyr kept it close, but just didn't have the fuel to compete there late. He'll come away in 4th, but pitting late and taking the reward of taking so much time early on. It's going to actually be Christopher Leftwich taking a 5th place finish for himself. Jamie Horn going to come away in 6th. 7th was Jonathan Smith. 8th, we find Joe McKnight. Eric Warman in 9th position. In 10th, we find Mike Leftwich and a few of other surprise drivers. Debut race for the 78 of Julio, who's actually going to come away with a 12th place finish, even with starting in pit road, went a lap down early because of all the strategies, was able to be rewarded with the top 15 finish, even with starting in pit road with no caution. Super impressive to see. We also know Adam Thompson, he looked strong early on, fell to 16th. Tyler Millette was not ever able to return back after his spin off the nose of the 06 of Brandon 6 early in the race. And as well, Daniel Wilkerson caught with a speeding penalty. You hate to see that for himself, but 22 drivers took the green, and it's going to be 6 who takes the win. It was a pleasure to give you the call. Zach Hall had to step away, so we'll be giving you the rest of the call myself, but big thanks to Zach as we take a look at what the schedule is going to be like moving forward. We're going to be off for quite a while on Thursday nights. We will be taking off the next 3 weeks as we've got ourselves next week off. The league had that prepared for a different separate event that they're going to be running. Then we have Christmas break. Then we have New Year's break, and we're back Thursday nights, January 9th. And before that 9th, we'll also be having our charity event race January 4th that you don't want to miss. Next week, we do have 2 races. That will be the ISRC Truck Series having their season finale. Is it Vincent Sora or John Forbes? You'll have to find out on the Monday night on who will be hoisting that championship. And then as well, we have our last race before the New Year's for WSSR as they're going to be taking the next-gen cars to the Red Bull Ring. Plenty of fun tracks you don't want to miss next week. Like I said, though, we're going to be seeing some great racing action. Next week's going to be our last one before the New Year's. And our first New Year's race going to be January 4th, where we will be having our 4th annual 6 Hours of Daytona charity race. You do not want to miss. More details can be found on our social media sites, but this event, we're expecting it if we get enough donations. You, the audience members, if you donate while we're live, going to be able to influence the race, mess with us up in the booth. You don't want to miss it. We got great incentives for you to join in, as well as goals if we hit those markers. We've got other great incentives on the way. Thank you so much to everyone who's already donated, those that have already participated. And if you'd like to donate, race, or just share, remember to go to our social media sites where you can see more about our 4th annual 6 Hours of Daytona charity event. Well, for us here tonight, green flag all the way through, and it was Brandon 6 taking the win. It was a fun one overall to watch, the strategies coming to the end. We want to say thank you to those that joined with us here tonight. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, for Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else a part of Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we say thank you for being with us this evening on your Thursday night. We will see you in the new year on Thursday. Should be a fun one. They're heading to Phoenix. Can they keep it clean and green there for 140 laps? Or will we see some cautions? We'll have to find out in the new year. But for us up at the booth, we will see you Monday night. We crown a champion. It's the ISRC Season 7 Championship race. We will crown a champion for that series. We cannot wait for it. We will see you on our final race for Monday night for a while. And that will be our next Freaky Fast broadcast.